What if the very habits you consider harmless, your favorite daily routines, were secretly working against you? Imagine this, a simple choice, repeated over weeks, months, even years, quietly sending your body signals that push your prostate to grow. For many men over 60, the struggle with sleepless nights, constant bathroom visits, and fading energy doesn't arrive suddenly. It sneaks in, like an uninvited guest. And here's the surprising truth. It isn't just age to blame. It's lifestyle. The little things you do or don't do every day. Now, before you shrug and say, that's just part of getting older, let me challenge you with this thought. I've met men in their 70s who still sleep peacefully through the night, feel vibrant, and live with confidence. I've also met men in their 50s who are already battling symptoms that rob them of dignity. The difference? Not luck, not fate, habits. And that's exactly what we'll uncover together. The 7 everyday habits that silently fuel prostate growth. More importantly, I'll share the simple, practical steps you can start today to take back control. So, whether you're watching this for yourself or for someone you love, stay with me. Because what I'm about to share may not just protect your health, it could protect your freedom, your confidence, and your sense of being fully alive. Let's start with the first hidden habit. It's something so ordinary that most men never question it. In fact, it's often celebrated as a reward in retirement. But when repeated too often, it slowly places a burden on your body that you never see coming. Habit 1. Sitting too long. Let's begin with the very first habit, one that almost every man over 60 slips into without realizing it. On the surface, it looks like comfort. In reality, it can be one of the most damaging patterns for your prostate health. Picture this. You've worked hard for decades, and now retirement has finally given you permission to slow down. You wake up, enjoy your morning paper, maybe watch a little television, scroll through your phone, and before you know it, hours have passed in the same chair. It feels like rest, and in many ways you've earned it. But here's the uncomfortable truth. While you're resting, your prostate is paying the price. When you sit too long, circulation slows in the pelvic area. Blood doesn't flow as freely, tissues become congested, and inflammation builds. Over time, that congestion quietly tells your prostate to grow. What begins as a walnut-sized gland can swell to the size of a lemon or more, squeezing your urethra and making every bathroom trip a challenge. I've seen it firsthand in my practice, and maybe you felt it yourself. The restless nights, the weakened stream, the sense of being chained to the bathroom. Most men assume it's just age, but more often, it's lifestyle. Your body was designed for movement, not stillness. Here's a simple way to reframe it. Think of your prostate as a pond. When water flows, it stays fresh, oxygenated, alive. But when water stagnates, it turns murky, unhealthy. Your body works the same way. Stillness is stagnation. Movement is life. And the solution doesn't require athleticism. You don't need a gym membership or marathon training. All it takes is rhythm. Stand up every 30 to 45 minutes. Stretch, walk across the room, or step outside for a breath of air. These tiny acts are like hitting the reset button for your circulation. One of my patients, a gentleman in his early 70s, came to me exhausted, frustrated, and discouraged. He had stopped joining his wife on her evening walks and avoided playtime with his grandchildren. Instead, he spent evenings on the couch, sinking deeper into inactivity. His prostate symptoms grew worse by the month. When we reintroduced just a little movement into his day, something powerful happened. Short strolls after meals, a few light stretches in the living room, and suddenly his nights were calmer, his bladder less restless, his energy higher. His wife told me later, with a smile in her eyes, "Doctor, I feel like I have my husband back." That's why breaking the sitting habit isn't just about your prostate. It's about reclaiming your freedom. It's about protecting your dignity, your relationships, and your ability to live life on your own terms. So before you dismiss this first habit as harmless, remember, every time you stand, every step you take, you're giving your prostate the gift of circulation. You're choosing health over stagnation. Now, while sitting too long can slowly choke your prostate, there's another daily habit that seems harmless, but can be just as damaging. It doesn't come from what you do with your body, but rather from what you drink. Let's talk about hydration and why coffee, tea, and alcohol might be sabotaging your prostate more than you realize. Habit 2. Ignoring water, relying on coffee or alcohol. Here's a habit that sneaks up on almost every man over 60, replacing water with other drinks. Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon, maybe a glass of wine or beer in the evening. It feels normal. After all, you're drinking fluids, right? But here's the catch. Not all fluids hydrate. Some actually dehydrate and irritate your prostate. I'll never forget a gentleman in his late 60s who came to see me. His biggest frustration? He was waking up 4, sometimes 5 times a night just to use the bathroom. He looked worn down, tired of broken sleep. When I asked him about his daily drinking habits, his answer explained everything. "I don't really drink water," he admitted. "I start the day with 2 mugs of coffee, sip on iced tea through the afternoon, and end the night with a couple of beers." What he didn't realize was that caffeine and alcohol are diuretics. They force the kidneys to push more fluid into the bladder, which not only creates more bathroom trips, but also irritates the bladder and prostate directly. On top of that, they don't actually hydrate your tissues, they dry them out. Add it all up, and you've got a perfect recipe for prostate irritation and growth. Here's the science in simple terms. Caffeine and alcohol equal diuretics. They make you urinate more often, straining your system. Dehydration thickens urine. The more concentrated your urine becomes, the harsher and more acidic it gets. That concentrated urine irritates the prostate like sandpaper on sensitive skin. Chronic irritation fuels inflammation, and inflammation is the spark that fans prostate growth. When that same patient began swapping some of his coffee and alcohol for plain water, the results were dramatic. Within weeks, his urine became lighter, his bladder less irritable, and his nighttime bathroom trips decreased. He told me, almost in disbelief, "Doctor, it feels like a miracle. I had no idea something so simple could make such a difference." That's the beauty of water. It's the oil for your body's engine. Without it, friction builds and systems fail. With it, everything runs more smoothly. And here's the best part. It doesn't just help your prostate. Hydration improves your energy, clears your mind, balances your mood, and even supports better sleep. So the next time you reach for another cup of coffee or pour a second drink, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, have I given my body enough of what it truly needs today? A tall glass of water might just be the most underrated medicine you'll ever take. We've seen how sitting too long and skipping water can quietly work against your prostate. But there's another hidden habit that many men pride themselves on, one they think shows strength. In reality, it does the opposite. It's the habit of holding your urine too long. Let's explore why ignoring your body's natural signals can be more dangerous than you think. Habit 3. Holding urine too long. This next habit often hides under the illusion of strength. Many men think it's a sign of discipline, toughness, or even convenience. But in reality, it's one of the quietest ways you can harm your prostate, ignoring the urge to urinate. Think back, how many times have you told yourself, "I'll wait until the show is over," or "I'll finish this task first"? Maybe you're out with friends, maybe you're driving, or maybe you just don't want to get up from your comfortable chair. It seems harmless, but every time you delay, you're putting stress on both your bladder and your prostate. Here's why. When you hold urine too long, your bladder stretches like a rubber band that's pulled past its comfort zone. Do that enough, and just like a worn-out band, it loses its snap. The bladder muscles weaken, making it harder to fully empty when you finally do go. That leftover urine doesn't just sit there quietly. It becomes a breeding ground for bacteria, increasing your risk of infection, and it constantly irritates the prostate. I remember a man in his early 70s who described his situation with frustration. "Doctor, I go to the bathroom, I stand there, but I never feel like I've emptied." What he didn't realize was that years of holding it in had trained his bladder to fail him. That residual urine meant more pressure, more irritation, and eventually, more growth of the prostate itself. The truth is this: holding it in isn't a sign of control. It's actually a slow surrender of control. Over time, your body loses the ability to respond naturally, and your freedom shrinks with it. So what's the solution? It's simple. Listen to your body again. When your bladder signals, honor that signal. Don't wait until the urge becomes painful or desperate. Empty regularly and fully. You're not being weak, you're being wise. Think of it this way. Every time you respond promptly to your body's cues, you're telling your bladder and prostate, "I respect you. I will not overload you. I will protect you." And in return, they reward you with comfort, fewer interruptions, and better health. So far, we've seen how sitting too long, skipping water, and holding urine all create hidden stress on your prostate. But there's another daily choice that men rarely connect with prostate health. It happens 3 times a day, right at your table, on your plate. And believe me, the foods you choose can either heal your prostate or quietly inflame it. Let's dive into habit 4. Processed, fatty, and salty foods. Habit 4. Processed, fatty, and salty foods. Food is one of life's great pleasures. A juicy burger at a family cookout, fried chicken at a Sunday gathering, or salty snacks with your evening TV. These meals aren't just fuel. They're tied to comfort, memory, and tradition. But here's the reality few men connect. Those very foods may be quietly fueling inflammation and pushing your prostate to grow. Let me share a story. I once met a man in his mid-60s. We'll call him David. He came into my office exhausted from waking up several times each night. His urinary stream had weakened, and he felt constantly uncomfortable. When we looked at his diet, the picture became clear. Bacon at breakfast, fast food on busy afternoons, and potato chips in the evening. It was the same routine he had carried from his working years into retirement. To him, it was just normal, but to his body, it was toxic. Here's why. High-fat processed foods trigger low-grade inflammation throughout the body. The prostate, being a sensitive gland, swells and reacts quickly. Heavy sodium intake pulls extra fluid into the body, placing stress on the bladder and irritating the prostate. Processed additives disrupt hormone balance, creating an environment that quietly encourages prostate growth. The danger is subtle. Food feels personal. It doesn't seem connected to your prostate, but every bite is a message. And the message of greasy, salty, processed meals is simple: inflame and enlarge. Now I know habits are hard to change. Food is emotional, it's tradition, it's tied to family memories and comfort. But here's the encouraging part. The reverse is also true. With every healthier choice, you send a new message: heal and calm. One of my patients told me after shifting to leaner meals, fresh vegetables, and less salt, "Doctor, I never realized food could feel like medicine. Within weeks, I had fewer nighttime trips, more energy, and a clearer mind." This isn't about giving up every pleasure. It's about balance. Swap out a few processed meals each week for whole foods. Choose grilled chicken instead of fried. Add colorful vegetables. Replace chips with nuts or fruit. Over time, these small swaps create big changes.
So next time you sit at the table, don't just think of your plate as a meal. Think of it as a conversation with your body. Will this food inflame your prostate, or will it help protect it? Food is powerful, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. There's another habit, often overlooked, that slowly undermines your prostate and your energy. It doesn't happen at the table, it happens at night. Let's talk about habit 5, poor sleep and staying up too late.
Habit 5. Ignoring sleep and staying up too late. Sleep. It's one of those things we all take for granted until it slips away. Many men over 60 tell me the same story. "Doctor, I just don't sleep like I used to." They stay up late watching television, they doze off in the recliner, or they wake up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. And while it may seem like nothing more than an annoyance, poor sleep is one of the most underestimated triggers for prostate problems. Here's why. When you don't sleep well, your body misses out on its repair cycle. This is the time when hormones reset, inflammation calms, and tissues recover. Without it, testosterone levels drop, stress hormones rise, and your prostate gets the wrong message. Grow, swell, stay inflamed. I recall one man in his late 60s who thought he was simply getting old. He stayed up late, often fell asleep in front of the TV, and convinced himself that a few hours here and there were enough. But his prostate symptoms told another story. He was waking up 3 or 4 times a night to urinate, his flow was weak, and his energy was fading. When we looked closer, the missing piece was clear: rest. By improving his sleep hygiene, going to bed at a consistent hour, turning off the television earlier, and creating a calm, dark sleep environment, his body finally got the reset it needed. Within weeks, his nighttime bathroom trips decreased, his mood lifted, and his wife even noticed his confidence returning. He later told me, "I didn't realize how much I was losing until I got it back." That's the power of sleep. It's not just downtime, it's repair time. Without it, your body breaks down. With it, you give your prostate, your heart, and your hormones a chance to restore balance. So if you've been brushing off sleep as optional, think again. Every hour you stay up late isn't just robbing you of rest, it's fueling the very growth you want to avoid. Now, we've talked about stillness, hydration, bladder signals, food, and sleep. Each plays a role. But what about movement? Not the extreme kind, not the absence of it, but the balance. Because the truth is, both too little exercise and too much intense exercise can work against your prostate. Let's move into habit 6, ignoring proper exercise balance. Habit 6, too little or too much exercise. Exercise is medicine, but like any medicine, the dose matters. Too little and your body weakens. Too much and your body strains. And for the prostate, both extremes can quietly do damage. Here's what I see often. One group of men gradually stops moving. Joints ache, energy dips, and motivation fades. They convince themselves that exercise is for the young. Days turn into weeks, and weeks into months of minimal activity. But the body was never built for stillness. Inactivity slows circulation, builds excess weight, and shifts hormones in ways that fuel prostate growth. On the other side, there's the man who prides himself on still pushing hard, lifting heavy weights, straining through intense workouts, and chasing the strength he had at 40. While admirable, this intensity often backfires. Heavy lifting and overexertion increase pelvic pressure, spike stress hormones, and irritate the prostate. I think of 2 patients I once met. The first, in his late 60s, had given up exercise completely. Even gentle walking seemed pointless to him. His prostate symptoms worsened quickly. Frequent bathroom trips, weak flow, constant fatigue. When he finally committed to daily walks and light stretching, the changes surprised him. Better sleep,
calmer nights, stronger energy. The second man, 72, boasted proudly that he was still squatting heavy weights at the gym. He told me, "Doctor, I'm stronger than men half my age." And yet his prostate was under siege. The excessive strain was creating the very symptoms he was trying to avoid. The lesson is simple: balance. The sweet spot lies in moderate, consistent activity: walking, swimming, cycling, yoga, or light strength training. These forms of movement keep circulation healthy, reduce inflammation, balance hormones, and support the prostate without overwhelming it. Think of exercise at this stage of life not as a competition, but as protection. Not about chasing youth, but about preserving freedom. Consistency over intensity, health over pride, balance over extremes. When you move wisely, you send a message to your prostate: stay calm, stay healthy. And your body rewards you with vitality, stability, and dignity. Now we've covered 6 hidden habits, but there's still one more, perhaps the most personal of all. It doesn't happen in the chair, at the table, or even in the gym. It happens in the bedroom, and for many men, it quietly fades away, leaving not just loneliness, but a real impact on prostate health. Let's talk about habit 7, avoiding intimacy.
Habit 7. Neglecting intimacy. For many men, intimacy slowly fades with age. Sometimes it happens because of physical fatigue, sometimes out of embarrassment or even fear of disappointing a partner. Other times, life just gets busy and closeness slips into the background. But here's what most men don't realize: intimacy isn't just about pleasure, it's medicine for your prostate. I once treated a 74-year-old man who quietly admitted that he and his wife hadn't shared intimacy in years. He thought it was just part of getting older. But the truth was, his prostate had grown congested, irritated, and inflamed. Without regular release, fluid builds up inside the gland like pressure in a pipe that's never flushed. The result? Swelling, discomfort, and worsening symptoms. Another man told me he avoided intimacy because he was insecure about his performance. Instead of talking to his wife, he withdrew. That choice left him not only emotionally distant, but physically worse off. His prostate suffered from the lack of release, and his confidence slipped further away. Here's the encouraging news: intimacy doesn't need to be frequent, nor does it have to look the same as it did decades ago. What matters is consistency, comfort, and connection. Even gentle, slower forms of closeness carry the same health benefits. The act itself helps clear congestion, reduces inflammation, and keeps the prostate healthier. And beyond the physical, intimacy restores something equally vital: connection. It can strengthen relationships, reduce stress, and improve confidence. In fact, I often tell my patients, intimacy is not indulgence, it's healthcare. So if you've quietly closed that chapter of your life, consider reopening it, not just for pleasure, but for your health, your partner, and your own well-being. The bigger picture? Tying it all together, now we've uncovered all 7 habits. 1. Sitting too long. 2. Skipping water and over-relying on coffee or alcohol. 3. Holding urine too long. 4. Eating processed, fatty, salty foods. 5. Ignoring sleep. 6. Exercising too little or too much. 7. Neglecting intimacy. Individually, each of these habits may seem small, but together they can quietly dictate the future of your health, your comfort, and your freedom. The takeaway is simple: your prostate listens to your choices. Every time you stand up, every glass of water you drink, every night you commit to rest, every balanced meal, every gentle walk, every shared moment of intimacy, you are sending a message: heal, not harm. Gentlemen, the line between health and struggle after 60 is razor thin, but it's not fixed. It bends with your daily choices.
And the good news is, you don't need to be perfect. Even small, consistent steps can transform your comfort, your dignity, and your vitality. So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait until symptoms worsen. Start today. Stand up more often. Drink more water. Honor your body's signals. Choose foods that heal, not harm. Protect your sleep. Move consistently, and don't neglect intimacy. It's a gift to both your body and your relationship. Your prostate may be small, but when it grows, it can dominate every part of your life. Don't let it. Take back control one choice at a time. Gentlemen, here's the truth. You don't need to wait for your prostate to remind you that change is urgent. You can take back control, starting right now. Stand up and stretch. Pour yourself a glass of water. Commit to a restful night's sleep. Choose one healthier meal today. Take a short walk. Share a moment of intimacy with someone you love. Each of these small actions sends your prostate a clear message. I choose healing. I choose strength. I choose freedom. So don't put it off until tomorrow. Begin today, because your health, your dignity, and your joy are worth it. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, share it with a friend who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more advice tailored to men over 60. Together, we can protect your health and keep you living the life you deserve.